evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, folks, and welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, brought to you here by the folks at Nerd Caliber. Oh my God, I got to move my mic up a little bit because I'm not peeking into the yellow at all, and I don't want to really clip this too much. So there we go. We'll try this. And joining me tonight are our wonderful stalwart companions here at Nerd Caliber. So let's start with the fuchsia. What would we call that top? Fuchsia? Okay. Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Looking forward to that quite a bit. And my bigger bearded brother, if you would. Yeah, it's 24 hours of must not miss, and that's one of the top must not miss. All right, let's welcome some people here into the chats. Karen McDonald, first as of 20 minutes ago. Welcome to YouTube page. Hello, Margarita Alvarado Leon. Hello, Becky Taylor. Hello, Miguel. Hello. Let's see, do we have anybody on Twitch yet? Not yet. And how about the Facebooks? Is nobody there yet either. So we do have a fair amount of stuff to get into. So let's jump right into it. Uh, Absolutely. And the very first, all right, we're going to have to now call this rumor, is the sort of news that everybody reported as news about the potential fact that Mulan will be free to all Disney Plus subscribers in December. So this news went out, it hit everywhere. It was apparently based on the fact that Disney Plus put a pre-order page up, or pre-order aspect of their page that said on December 4th you could get this for free and not have to pay the $30 or $29.99 ownership. And for those people who are misreporting this, and we said this the last time when we talked about it, it is not a $29.99 rental. It's a $29.99 digital ownership. So as long as Disney Plus is alive, you have the ownership of this product. But the news was that supposedly this was going to be free for all Disney Plus subscribers coming up in December. And within hours of that news just blasting all over the internet, the page went down. Disney has not said one thing or the other one way or the other about whether or not this is true. So now it has to be called a rumor or a speculation or whatever. But it might have been a glitch. This is absolutely true. Now, as somebody who has done web work along with myself, Greg, you know that nobody's going to sit there and code in all of the, or even if it's just data entry, all of the information about a product and when it goes on sale and how free it is if they don't have the order in front of them from, the person that controls that webmaster. So, right, right. Yeah, the boss, I've got it. It's on the production server right now. You mean the test server? Oops. Right. Yeah. That is true. So I just realized that we dropped down to one concurrent viewer. Nobody's saying anything on our chat, and you guys aren't pinning on the VU meter at all. Um, so Greg, keep saying something there if you would. Let me.
dripped all over you. And it's a nice going out, enjoy a movie experience. And those definitely cost more. I think they might be, if not 15, 19. So it'd be like $40 either way for me.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. But let me. Luminous is on. Yes, is the audio working? The audio should be working now, Luminous, or by the time you catch up within 20 or so seconds. Let us know for sure.
I'll post a message.
Yeah, but that's the idea of paying $20 for something that you do digitally own and you can watch. Even if Disney Plus goes down in 3 years, you can watch anytime you want to in 3 years. Like literally, if you want to watch it every day, it's not that bad. I mean, I paid, I think it was $19.99 for Black Panther when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
And so I own that on Amazon Prime. So
and
yeah.
this, sorry, I was just going to say this. The obvious selling point, if you will, is that you're getting it at the same time it premieres in theaters. Presumably not theaters that any of us are likely to be able to get to, but Aside from that, it's not, so Black Panther is a good example. You got that, probably 12, 13 weeks after it was in the theaters, maybe a little longer. You bought it, licensed it from Amazon, as it were, and paying $19 for it that you can download whenever you want. That's great. Would you pay an extra $10 to have seen Black Panther in your living room the same weekend it opened?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
I
I
mean,
was obviously willing to buy it.
Sure.
same thing here. We buy a lot of stuff before it will come out on a streaming service, before it comes out on Netflix, because either we don't want to go to the theater for it, and again, paying $19 to buy the movie, or whatever, $4.99, $3.99 to rent it, and see. It's always like, is this a movie we want to buy? Is it a movie we want to rent? We'll see. If we saw it in the theater and we loved it, then we're just gonna buy it, because stuff will come and go from streaming services.
Yep.
True. And we don't know what the true story is here. It does make sense. I'm sure Disney will announce it when they feel that they've made enough money off people who are going to buy it. So, we'll hear what the real story is probably sometime in October or November. But either way, September 4th is coming out. If you want to spend that $29.99, get it. Go right ahead. Next story. I can't believe this. So that is, of course, Mulder and Scully from the X-Files. The news is that Fox is making an animated series spin-off from the X-Files, and it already has a title, which is kind of silly, which is X-Files Albuquerque.
So random. Unless I'm missing something. I don't remember everything from the X-Files. It's been a while. So I don't remember if Albuquerque was some big thing, but okay.
I think it's kind of just a joke as to where they're locating the team. So the idea is it's an office full of misfit agents who investigate the X-Files cases too wacky, ridiculous, or dopey for Mulder or Scully to bother with. This originally sounds kind of, why would they do this? It's being made by the people that did Comedy Central's Brickleberry. And if you've ever seen any of Brickleberry...
Please don't.
Yeah. It is bizarre and profane in a way that it's really hard to imagine any other piece of animated comedy being. And it was unbelievably hard to imagine them doing this with the X-Files.
Yep.
No
I will say, sorry, I was going to say it's by, what do you call it? The folks that did Paradise PD. And I did somehow get roped into watching that on a very slow weekend. I was probably sick with the flu last year when it came out, and just couldn't reach the button to watch something else. And it's ridiculous and profane and absurd, but it had some funny moments. Yeah, who knows about this one? So for folks that don't know, we have a group where everyone, sees news from the week. We post it up and then comment on it. And as soon as I saw this story, the first thing that I thought of was the classic Simpsons bit with Poochie, which is basically what happens when the studio decides they need to throw a lot of buzzwords at a character for a TV show to make it edgy, new, hip, whatever. This just sounds like not even a writer's room meeting, like a producer's meeting. What can we do? We got the Chris Carter wants to do another X-Files thing. What can we do? We'll get a dog on a skateboard and sunglasses. No, that was The Simpsons, but.
Speaking of Chris Carter, he and Gabe Rotter are executive producing this. So this has their blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be like Brickleberry. There's no way that, well, first off, Fox wouldn't run it. Disney is not going to let, their new Fox affiliate run something that unable to be shown to anybody other than most perverted person
Yep.
which pretty much sums up Brickleberry. So there, people have said, I've read articles that say it's probably going to be like Star Trek Lower Decks, and so a little bit broader, sillier, but also kind of edgier humor than you might have had even on something like The Orville, but nothing at all like Brickleberry or Paradise PD or any of the other stuff. So now I'll check it out. Probably be disappointed, but hey.
Mm.
All right, so
Our expectations aren't exactly high.
yeah, expectations have been managed and managed down low.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a couple of cancellations here in the news. That is Zachary Quinto in his role as I can't remember the character's name. Manx is his last name. The main bad guy in Nosferatu, the adaptation series on AMC of the Joe Hill novel, and the series is not going to get a third season. It's been canceled after 2 seasons. Notice went out on the Twitter feed of the executive producer, and then AMC almost immediately confirmed it. So.
I didn't even know this was a thing. Also, I've been, was looking at the docket and honestly, as I was scrolling through, like looking at the news for today, I'm like, I don't want to, what is this stupid sci-fi thing? And I just right before you said Rodney, I was like, Nosferatu. Totally. Well, I mean, I just learned a thing. I learned that Zachary Quinto's in it. And it's on AMC. So, okay, it's been canceled after 2 seasons, but I love him. I used to be able to catch him out of the side of my eye, just looking longingly at his eyebrows at my one of my local bars back when I lived in Brooklyn. His place was only, a few blocks away from mine, and there would be a certain watering hole where some of us would congregate. I never talked to him. I just sent kisses in my mind to his eyebrows.
As you would,
But maybe check it out. I mean, besides the fact that I think he's a very good-looking human being, I also really enjoy him as an actor. So
yeah, he's a very talented actor.
Yeah, and he can definitely play. I mean, his first role was a horrible, horrible villain in Heroes. Or the first role that I knew of him.
yeah.
And so he can definitely play a villain, and he plays a villain in this. His character is the big bad guy. It's just kind of a bummer. That somebody from New England, Joe Hill, Stephen King's kid. He had Lock and Key made into a series. Nosferatu made into a series. So he's done well for sure, but
Yep.
I always like to see him do better. Speaking of cancellations and not making to season 3, Altered Carbon on Netflix will not be coming back for season 3. No exact word as to why, but everybody's speculating it's one of those production cost versus viewership metrics that Netflix loves to do. And if it doesn't make it, the right ratio, then the show gets canceled. Which is why so many things don't make it past the season 3 on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not a big surprise. Apparently, season 2, I didn't particularly care for season 2.
I heard I'm on season 1. I'm about, I think, 3/4 of the way through, and I've been really enjoying it, but I had to take it in kind of bits and pieces. There's just so much to take in. I mean, that kind of visually, not necessarily like story, but it's kind of like bombards my eyeballs, and I realized how in quarantine I actually haven't been playing a lot in the way of video games, but I'm like, this show is so fast and there's so much stuff going on and it's so much sort of visual overstimulation that I'm like, can I just watch a Parks and Recs or something after this to down a notch? But I was really, really enjoying it. And then talking to my friends who had really been like, oh, go, you need to watch this. I was like, well, I'm really looking forward to season 2 now, because I can kind of see where they're like, don't bother. Like season 2 is going to make you dislike the show. Like if you like it, just end liking it. And so then my interest in finishing up the first season kind of, tapered off a little bit.
I finished the first season. It if you haven't got to the point where Abuela comes back.
I did. I have.
All right. That is to me the high point in the season because that nails the concept of, spoiler alert, folks, for the general concept is people can be re-sleeved, as they call it. Your consciousness can go into a completely different body. And that actor, who played those basically 3 characters that eventually wound up in his body, should have gotten an Emmy. The guy was amazing. And it tails off a little bit after that, but it gets more exciting. It gets more of a sort of an action-packed show after that. So it's worth finishing, but season 2, just 2 episodes, and I was like, no, this lost so much. Which is too bad because, I want to support Anthony Mackie, who is the new Kovac.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was very much looking forward to getting to see him.
Yep.
And
he's good. He's and he's a better actor than Kinnaman in my.
I was also going to say that. I was going to say I don't love the first season guy. I feel like he's a little bit like a very pretty piece of cardboard.
Yeah, he was. He wasn't the worst thing about the first Suicide Squad, but he was close.
Oh, I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, he was Flag. He's going to be in the new one too. So.
Okay.
I mean, he's reprising his role as Colonel Flag. So. But. Bye Altered Carbon. And our occasional team member who appears on here, or our team member who occasionally appears on here, Ashley Rogers pointed out that the guy who wrote the original novels is a bit of a jerk, supports J.K. Rowling's position on trans people, so not feeling too bad that he doesn't get royalties anymore. Moving on to our next series news, and this may be one of the reasons why Altered Carbon is canceled, because they need to free up some cash for the Resident Evil series, which is going to be coming to Netflix. That has been given a go-ahead by the folks at Netflix, and the reason I put that particular photo up here is that, according to this article on Deadline, the gist of the story is that it's going to follow the 2 teenage kids, a boy and a girl, of Albert Wesker.
Wait, no, I think it's 2 girls.
Oh yeah, sure. Jade and Billy. Okay, my bad. 2 sisters. Right.
No, right, because Billy, Billy could be William or Wilhelmina or anything like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it will also jump to a different timeline. So that will all take place before things go completely south, and it will also then jump to a different timeline when the world is what we're used to seeing in the later Mia Jovovich movies, where the world is really destroyed. And it jumps back and forth between those 2 timelines. I'm kind of interested in that. This makes it sound less sucky than when I first heard that they were going to be doing this.
I have a lot of feelings, so I'll wait.
No.
Oh, wait.
Let
Okay.
those feelings out.
Okay. I Resident Evil is my probably one of 2 favorite all-time games. I've been playing it for I don't know how long, like 15, 20 years. Been playing it all. I used to be completely obsessed with Albert Wesker. I cosplayed him. I must have spent $1,000 on leather to get that costume correct. I used to role play as him, the live journal RP days. I wrote fan fiction. I read fan fiction. I care very much about him. Also, I also feel that Resident Evil is, as a franchise, another reason that I loved it is because they gave you wonderful, strong women characters. And what always bothered me about the live action ones is that, to me, even though I love fan fiction, I don't really like alt universe fan fiction. And I was like, why would you not just then cast Mila Jovovich as Jill? They have the same haircut. Why make this totally new character and then all these other characters that have been established forever just go by the wayside? So I'm excited that maybe we get some Wesker in this. Please, if so, cast him well. No, like scrimpy little Wesker. It's gonna be commanding. Come on, that voice. I'll say it anyway. But yeah, okay. So a Resident Evil thing, led by women, definitely, female protagonist. Nothing new there. I'm just like, just have it be good. And again, I'm still like, I wish we could see more stories of the characters that we played as for decades.
It would be nice, in their original reporting, Deadline notes in here that in their original reporting, it would contain the types of things that you're used to seeing in the games. So, and including what they called Easter eggs. So we may not actually see playable characters, or not playable characters. We may not actually see characters that we're used to playing portrayed, but we may see them referenced. Like there may be a reference to that time when Jill Valentine did something, or they could actually have characters from the game in here. By having these two time frames, it's wide open. So, I mean, it would be great. I'd like to see it. I don't know. Constantine Films is producing it, and Constantine is the production company that did the movies.
Right.
So any character that was created for the movies, or that they have the rights to produce entertainment media on, could be in there.
I didn't like the movies. Maybe I thought I could do them better.
You probably could.
Because I'm such a Fargan super fan. Like, I couldn't, they were the casting choices. I do love the animated films. That I do think that what I would be playing.
So you froze just a second there, Gogo, but I think we got the gist of what you were saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just started pre-production. We have no idea if and when this will be out. 2022, I would say, would be generous. They've got to go through all the pre-production before they even start doing any of the work of filming. And again, nobody's filming anything. So.
Right.
All right, moving on to our next topic. This is actually a screenshot from the 1990s movie Sphere, starring Dustin Hoffman. And
Sam Jackson.
And Samuel L. Jackson, and Sharon Stone.
Sharon Stone.
So the news is that they are going to be making a series based on this for HBO, which the movie was kind of a meh adaptation of a pretty decent Michael Crichton novel. But the people behind this, so you've got the executive producer and writer of Westworld, the production company behind Westworld, Kilter Films, and Robert Downey Jr. and his wife's production company, Team Downey, and Warner Brothers Television. So behind the scenes, this has some pretty impressive
muscle.
names with a good track record.
I don't know how you turn this into a series. I mean, I guess I can see it. I vaguely remember the movie as being, meh is a good word. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was not, damn, why am I blanking on the name? What was the movie set underwater with Ed Harris?
The Abyss.
The Abyss, thank you. The Abyss.
I've probably watched that, 100 times. So
the
good.
Abyss was what Sphere wanted to be, and Crichton's novel is still not quite as working class and also not quite as upliftingly bizarre in its interpretation of what they find under the water or under the ocean, as The Abyss is, but it's close.
Right. It was more sort of a general comparison of the
And it's a
plot
very
rather
easy
than the
comparison to
movies
make. They are
themselves.
very similar in
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah, I went through, like so many people, I think I probably saw Jurassic Park and then decided Michael Crichton was the greatest thing ever and read virtually everything he wrote, and then realized that most of his adaptations are not great.
Yeah.
13th Warrior, still number one. Absolutely.
You mean as a movie or as a book?
No. Movie adaptations of Michael Crichton books tend to be, I mean, Jurassic Park notwithstanding. Obviously, that was the absolute high watermark.
Right.
His very first one, Andromeda Strain, that original movie
Right.
back in the late 60s or early 70s was outstanding.
So, it's funny you say that because I remember exactly the opposite of that. That was to me, that's the example of not great, because it's a decent movie. It ratchets up the tension. It's what's going on. Are we all going to survive? And then it's like, oh, I don't even remember what it was. It was like, oh, just spray water on the virus and it magically goes away. It's, it's like spraying, it's hydroxychloroquine for the 1960s.
It worked for H.G. Wells.
True. It was one of the more grievous Deus Ex Machina things that I can ever remember. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it could be interesting. HBO certainly has deep pockets, and it could be pretty to look at. And underwater stuff can be wild looking, even if the the series itself may be great, may be mediocre. Who knows? But I mean, I think we were talking about this not that long ago. A couple of folks on the Nerd Caliber team were really speaking highly of the Meg. That being a dumb, stupid, ridiculous movie, but it was really fun, and all the underwater stuff was cool.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes, yeah. I mean.
Oh, no one was saying, yeah, it's the next. It's not Citizen Kane.
Right. Okay. No.
It's not Kane's Donuts.
Yeah. It's big dumb fun.
Sorry, folks. That was a Massachusetts reference.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I nodded and smiled.
To your first point, Greg, about how do you do this as a series? The only thing I can think of is that they have to explore what they discover inside the sphere, and expand on that to make it a series, because you can't have. Let's assume they wanted to go at least 3 seasons. You can't have 3 seasons of them getting to the sphere.
Excuse me.
And then just like, now how do we get into it? I can't imagine that would work. It's got to be at some point in the first season they get into it, and the entire rest of it is expanding on what Crichton really didn't do.
Right. So the interesting. So I just had to pop up a quick recap of it because it's been many years since I read it, and kind of the top line on that is: the novel begins as a science fiction story, but quickly transforms into a psychological thriller, developing into an exploration of the nature of human imagination. Which is like, yeah, it's a pretty good way to do it, because as they slowly mentally start coming unglued, as it were, that aspect was actually pretty interesting. What happens in that, super close, cramped quarters. You're in a bathysphere underwater, nowhere to go. Who knows? It could turn into a weird psychedelic, 2001-esque. It probably won't, but who knows?
That works for a 2-hour movie like Solaris, or something like that. Or the recent Robert Pattinson super bizarre movie. It doesn't work for a series. I can't imagine how that could work. I'd get so tired of that tension so fast. You have to be resolved. Christina, welcome to the chat, Super Game Time Lover. Welcome to the chat. Great name.
Hey guys.
Gogo, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I was mumbling to myself. I said 2020 A Fish Odyssey, which, it's not really about fish, though. It's just a It's like, we don't know. I just, yeah, no. Anyway, I wasn't saying anything. I was talking to myself. I'm sorry.
And that's, we'll see what happens when it comes out, whenever that happens to be. Again, this is one of those news was just put out that they're doing this adaptation. So pay attention, folks. We'll be covering it more as it goes along. Next topic is that is one of the few screen grabs that was clear enough from the recently released teaser for the upcoming Stand miniseries on CBS All Access. That is clear enough that you can actually see people doing something. So this is sort of a let's all talk about the reaction to the trailer or to the teaser, because you can't really call it a trailer, and what it showed of anything. I was interested but kind of let down by the teaser, in that it didn't show me anything particularly interesting other than we got to see Whoopi Goldberg, and we get to hear Whoopi Goldberg as Mother Abigail. And that's pretty much it. Anybody else?
Oh, well, sorry, excuse me. As I said, like, the opening, and I actually watched it without sound by accident. I was just watching it. I didn't even pick up. I'm sure. I thought it was actually very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. Interesting in that I'm like, ooh, it looks like they're putting real money into it. And I think that's exciting. I did really enjoy the 1994 miniseries event. But even then, even though that was so long ago, I still felt sometimes like some of the looks and the costumes and the makeups and the bad guy who was the devil or whatever he is kind of looked like a little bit of a high school theater production.
Yeah, the special effects makeup on that original miniseries wasn't fantastic, but the casting was.
No, the casting was great. It was just there was times that there were things just looked a little like very obviously this is a set, this is a prosthetic, that kind of thing. So I'm excited for the advancements that have happened in filmmaking and effects to really be able to transport us into the story. I'm kind of disappointed though that it is on CBS because again, I think, I would rather see it on something where we're going to get a little more adult content.
Well, this is CBS All Access. Remember, this is the one where Star Trek Discovery drops the F-bomb. So
I did not. Okay, never mind. Then I will say I'm excited for them to be able to actually give us, some shocking moments. So I'm gonna watch that trailer again when we're done here, so I can hear Whoopi's voice. But again, like opening up and like, I said that it's the corn right there, and instantly I could hear Cicely Tyson's voice from the 1994 saying "rats in the corn" again, and I'm like, whoa, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Alexander Skarsgård is the big get. He can
my
be
disappointment.
menacing.
Didn't get to see really anything of his Randall Flagg.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted.
Just an announcement. So I, in all honesty, barely remember the original TV miniseries. So I'm looking at IMDb. I'm like, Jamie Sheridan played Randall Flagg. He's an okay actor, but he doesn't have that like innate menace. That's smooth talking, subtle menace that you need to bring to that role. As I recall, that's again going way back.
Matt Frewer's completely unhinged trash can man was at times scarier than Sheridan's Randall Flagg.
Yeah, True. Randall Flagg is the big bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he just, I don't know, he did not convince me that he was scary. I was like, I know I'm supposed to be afraid of you, but I'm not.
Yeah. And if you've ever seen Skarsgård as Eric Northman from True Blood, he can scare you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I'm looking
I
forward
just
to that.
when I was thinking about that, you know what came to mind? Have either Rodney? I know you have. Gogo, have you watched season 2 of? Jesus, I busy day and I'm having a total brain fart again here. Just came out. Second season just dropped on Netflix. God damn it. Never mind. Moving
Who's
on.
in it? What's it
It's
like?
gone. Um,
I can't.
sorry.
Season
Sorry, it just went completely. Never mind.
And I had
Um,
to look up Alexander Skarsgård because
Yep.
was mixing him up with someone else in my head. Yes, he is very good
Okay.
and can be very scary.
Sorry. So it just flashed back to me. Season 2 of Umbrella Academy.
Not yet.
Uh,
Not yet. I'm so excited. I'm excited to
So
get.
all right, no spoilers then. But the Swede, Rodney, I know who you're talking about, the main one of the three.
Yeah.
That for someone who has, I believe, 0 spoken lines of dialogue, some like vocalizations, but no actual like words per se. He was one scary MFer.
Yep.
And that sort of like quiet menace that somebody can bring to a role is what I think Randall Flagg needs.
Luminous jumped in with a guess.
Lu-
Umbrella Academy.
Thank you, Luminous.
But
Thank you.
good guess.
That's
Also,
my-
Oricella or Oricelia. I'm butchering that. I'm sorry. Welcome to the show.
Glad somebody can remember how my brain works.
And it would be Luminous. So yeah, it gave me a little bit more to keep me excited. It didn't give me nearly enough to get me really excited, more than I already am for this adaptation. The one thing, and I completely forgot about this until I read the article, this is being directed by Josh Boone, who did New Mutants, which is being destroyed by critics right now. Now, the version of New Mutants that Josh Boone directed was finished 2 years ago. So who knows how much of that is exactly what we're seeing on the screen right now with the whole Disney-Fox merger. He made a Fox X-Men universe horror movie. And then Disney got a hold of it and it had to tie into the MCU, and so who knows? But the fact that that New Mutants is getting absolutely ripped to shreds by the critics online right now makes me feel a little more worried about this than I was just a little while ago. So, fingers crossed I'm wrong. Luminous, I watched and very much enjoyed Umbrella Academy after hearing about it here on Nerd Week Live.
Yay!
Excellent. That's what I like to see.
God, that show was so good.
I thought season 2 was, not to get sidetracked here, but as good, if not different, obviously, but as good, if not conceivably even better than the first season. I finally caught up with it.
Yep. Read my review.
There you go.
I lay out what aspects of it are better, and you know, how they improved. But anyway, all right. Moving on to our next topic. Speaking of remakes,
Do we have to?
well, you know, so of course that's Kurt Russell. That is from the 1980s movie The Thing, John Carpenter's absolutely classic sci-fi horror film, and they're remaking it with apparently with Carpenter's backing, and it's Blumhouse Productions that's doing it. So, you know, maybe this could be a good thing. If Carpenter's involved, okay. Blumhouse knows how to do horror, that's for sure. I mean, they are the top modern horror production company in the last 10 years. But this does kind of beg the question, why? Now, that 1980s version is it. You know, there's not it. It's The Thing. It's a different movie. The 1980s version is a classic. It is all but perfect in what it does for its period. Um, so, not really sure what anybody can bring to this. You'd have to cast somebody that could be as compelling as Kurt Russell was.
Oof.
Yeah.
There's not many people fit that bill. He was the king of the castle in the early '80s at that point. Um, you know, he was, speaking of compelling to watch on screen. He had it going on, and that, you know, similar to Sphere in the sense that it's like you get a bunch of people confined into a space where you just can't get out. Obviously, no relation in terms of the plot of the story, but that same sort of um, ramping up of the psychological tension of a bunch of people being trapped in a confined space. I mean, that's why Alien, the movie Alien, works so well. You know, ships that big, um, aliens that big. Where are you gonna go? So in any case, I don't know. I'm trying to think. You know, we have fun playing dreamcasting around here, but I'm not coming up with anybody who, I mean, I'm sure they'd love to get The Rock or somebody of that caliber who can, you know, do the stunts, anchor a movie, be a big name box office draw, etc. But he just doesn't have. I literally just pulled that name out of thin air, but you know, I don't think he's someone like that's really the right kind of actor.
Oscar Isaac.
Ooh,
That's actually a really good call.
yes,
Oscar Isaac. Yeah.
props.
TV, and I'm sorry, I don't know the other characters. TV, welcome to the chat. Luminous says, I've heard fans of the 1982 Thing movie who are worried a new film would use CGI instead of physical effects. I would assume that it probably would. I would assume that they're still going to have the same body horror. I mean, you know, you can't make the Thing without something as horrifying as what the Thing is, and showing it in that, you know, the horrific body horror that
Yeah.
is there in the 1982 movie. Um, you know, and if they do CGI, you know, I can't imagine they would do it all CGI. I mean, some of the stuff would have to be practical effects. You can, but if you interact where people are touching monsters, you know, if the monsters are 100% CGI, that's a problem. So I don't know. You know, Carpenter's involved. You know, and
He is.
the one thing I will throw in here, and I mentioned this before we went on the air, for those of you who are really science fiction nerds that are as old as I am, you know that the 1950s version with James Arness and this 82 version are based on a John W. Campbell short story called Who Goes There? Campbell actually tried expanding that out to a novel, but never published it before his death, and it did get awareness. Greg asked me about this, and I don't recall whether it's actually been published. But I read one article that speculated, must have been speculation, because they officially are not saying anything about this Carpenterism anyway. Speculation that it is based on that expanded material, not just the short story itself. And you know, we'll see.
We'll see.
Also, for those of you who were watching the show a while back, particularly when we covered the whole Hugo Awards thing, John W. Campbell, horrible human being.
Big old racist.
Yeah, but hey, he wrote a really good story. Speaking of really good stories, want to understand? I've not read it. They being the people I kind of hate the most as production people and writers right now, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the guys who ruined Game of Thrones for all of us. I mean, who created Game of Thrones, the series. I mean, let's give them some credit.
Yep.
They did actually manage to take that book or the books and make it a series. It's just that as writers, well, they suck. Or at least they do when trying to compare themselves to George R. R. Martin for the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. So the news is, what just popped up there is one of the covers of the book, The Three-Body Problem, by Liu, how did I say we're going to pronounce this? Liu Zixin, which is one of the most well-regarded science fiction novels and the first of a trilogy in the last decade and a half. This, when it was finally translated, as seen here by Ken Liu, an author in his own right, into English, it won the Hugo Award that year. It was, this is apparently,
Hands down.
Yeah, it's a hugely well-considered book. And these two pantloads are going to make this into a series on Netflix. It's possible they won't ruin it. Maybe it exists as a 3-book series, so like their work with Game of Thrones, the stuff they need to make is already there.
Yep.
Unless they go beyond 3 seasons.
I haven't read the book, but I'm sure that with those two working on it, we will see lots of gratuitous booby shots. Boobs. Every episode.
Probably. Which would be
boobs.
very weird because that would be a complete fabrication. There's nothing. So I have read Three-Body Problem. I've not read the second and third book. I'm not sure why. It's fantastic. It's very cerebral. It's very out there. It's very not American. Ken Liu is a great writer in his own regard. He does a terrific job of translating it. And one of the things that comes across is very much that not American perspective. And I appreciated that. But the aliens are not, they're not alien, they're not the Ridley Scott aliens. They're not little green men. They're really hard to describe. I don't know how you film them. And the big problem that I see here, obviously we can only really compare it to Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was not the easiest thing to adapt, but everyone is used to, heroes and villains with swords and crossbows and horses and dragons. And, they just did it on an epic scale and a storytelling scale that no one had really done before. But most of it was already there, and people knew what they were getting themselves into when they saw that. So they didn't have to do as much novel to screenplay. It's all going to be about how the screenplay is adapted from the novels, which is not their strength. Yeah,
if
please.
I can make a comparison, it's like the excellent job Denis Villeneuve did adapting a story into Arrival.
Yep.
In that this is a story about scientists and discovering, or having first contact with an alien society, alien beings who are so alien that it's almost impossible to wrap your head around it. Now, Denis Villeneuve made it work. These guys are not Denis Villeneuve.
No, and I mean, there were many issues with Game of Thrones, but it was also something so epic and so amazing and so beloved. And I still love what they did up until they didn't have the source material. And so in this case, they do have the source material. But as you said, I completely agree with you. It's one thing to be like dragon in a book, dragon on a show, sword in a book. So in this case, there's as Greg said, it's a much more cerebral type thing. Do I think that those two can handle smart science fiction? No, I do have my doubts. I'm sorry, I do have my doubts there.
Yeah, I'm just the way these two guys decided to handle exposition dumps in Game of Thrones was sexposition.
Yeah.
Boobies. So you get distracted by while people were having sex in a bathtub so that they could explain to you about the history of why dragons are, eventually died out in Westeros. Which is literally a scene that happens.
Yeah. It's funny when you say that because, there's the old adage in storytelling, whether it's movie, spoken, TV, book, whatever, comic book, show, don't tell. Don't talk about a thing happening when you can have the thing happen.
Right.
And especially in a visual medium like TV and movies, don't have people sitting around talking about a dragon when you can have a dragon. What just made me think of that is like show don't tell. They took that to show boobies don't tell things,
or show boobies and tell, so that people
things,
won't
right.
be bored by your telling.
Right.
These guys are hacks. They made a
Got
good
lucky.
series because they had stellar content to turn into a good series, and they didn't screw it up until they no longer had content.
And they had the content creator. They had George R.R.
He wrote some of the scripts.
Yes, and working with them and going back and like he was probably too much a part of the process to where he wasn't writing books to continue the series.
Harry, welcome to the show. Waifu Pennywise, welcome back.
Hey.
So now I have to say I've got to give them the shot. I hate Damon Lindelof, or hated Damon Lindelof he wrote some of the worst, he wrote the script to Prometheus. And of course destroyed Lost for those of us that were Lost fans. He knocked it out of the absolute park into the stratosphere with his sequel to Watchmen on HBO. It was brilliant. Every moment of that series was brilliant. So maybe these guys will do the same thing. Maybe they'll pull a Lindelof for me and redeem themselves in this product. I'm not holding my breath.
Right. So this is very early going. They're just at this point, the news is they're adapting this trilogy. How much creative input they have versus kind of an EP role where they're putting the right people together to do the actual screenplay, etc. The one thing that does give me a little bit of hope here is that they have enlisted both Ken Liu and Liu Cixin. I apologize, I probably not saying that properly. As consulting producers, how much they are actually involved in writing the screenplay, etc., is unknown. But very hopeful that they are handing this off to the right people, and David and DB are more behind the scenes, the name behind it. So fingers crossed, because if done well, if given to somebody with the kind of vision and talent of a Denis Villeneuve, it could be really cool. The first half and the second half of the first book are very different, and it's a slow build. And I had no idea what was going on for the longest time, and I'm okay with that. I don't need a book where somebody spells out every chapter is this, here we go, here's the conclusion, and so fingers crossed.
For me, that was Ursula K. Le Guin's The Dispossessed.
Fair.
Now, and speaking of people involved, the actual writer apparently and one of the executive producers is going to be Alexander Wu, who co-created the AMC series The Terror, which was pretty well received.
Mm-hmm. Also a good book.
There you go. And Rian Johnson, Knives Out, Last Jedi, is going to be an executive producer.
Oh, yay.
Yes, yay. And Plan B, Brad Pitt's production company, is going to be one of the executive producing production companies. So,
You gotta like a movie with 14 EPs and like one writer. That's always a good recipe.
Exactly. All right, folks. It's time for that moment. Um,
Can I pour my drink now?
you can pour your drink. There's our king. Uh, you know, the horrible, horrible news last week of the death of Chadwick Boseman at the age of 43 after 4 years of struggling with and essentially hiding colon cancer. Just, it hit everybody in the nerd community. It hit me hard. My dad died of colon cancer at the age of 42, back when I was 7. So this was a tough one, folks. Boseman, I saw Boseman first in, I believe it was Get On Up, the James Brown movie, and immediately went, holy crap, who is this guy? Realized he had done 42, the Jackie Robinson biopic, the year before. Went and watched that, and just it cemented in my mind that this guy. Where's he been? He'd been doing minor TV. He got a lead role in a little Iraq War veteran movie that came out the year before 42, and then boom, he was playing Jackie Robinson. He was playing James Brown, and then he led a $1.35 billion monster of a movie in Black Panther. And in most of that time, he was fighting cancer. It's one of the saddest things I've heard. I'm a little bit of the Glenfiddich 12-year-old, which
Cheers
is
to
warmed
that.
up nicely. So the ice cold water, which you're supposed to, is now no longer ice cold.
Cheers. Imagine me with a glass of wine, but
Exactly.
I had just gotten home, so I shall have later. So chin chin.
So remembrances, thoughts. What are we feeling? What are we thinking here, folks?
I cried a lot.
Yep.
I'm even getting teary now. Just it's hard to think of, how do you just sum it up? This was a really special person. He changed people's lives, and he also, he wasn't just a good actor, he was a really good person, and it sucks that this was what he was dealing with, and it sucks that he's gone. And one of the things that hit me was, I had noticed in some press photos of different things that he was looking a lot thinner, and which I just assumed was that he had to lose weight for a role, but people were calling him, because he had gotten kind of emaciated, people were calling him Crack Panther instead of Black Panther, and basically making fun and saying like, oh, of course he's black, he must be doing drugs, whatever, just all these horrible things. And I think that, this again, we as, human beings to each other need to remember, you never know what someone else is going through.
Yep.
Exactly.
You never know.
I just put up on the screen for folks who are watching this his portrayal in the last movie people saw him in, which was The Five Bloods, the Spike Lee movie on Netflix. And you can see he's definitely thinner, but you can see that it would be very easy to believe that he was playing a character who's been in Vietnam for a long time. He played the younger version of one of the characters that went back to Vietnam, and it would make sense. You'd look at this and go, "Oh, okay, he lost weight for this role." So the people who were giving him garbage for this, there are garbage people out there, and hopefully the dumpster fire they live in will get set on fire at some point for the dumpster they live in. Rodimus Primal, welcome to the show. Apologies for you coming in at the the remembrance moment when we're all tearing up here about Chadwick Boseman. Greg, what are where are we at?
Same all around. I mean, the there's the old adage that you can tell a lot about a person by what his friends say about him.
Yep.
The tributes coming in from Ryan Coogler, from Angela Bassett, from his co-stars, from other people are not just your usual. He was great on set. He'll be missed. They're heartfelt. They're pouring out emotion. I have heard from quite a few friends in the Comic-Con community, the convention community we're all a big part of, who have worked with him. We've got friends who do, work as handlers for celebrities during con, photo ops and meet and greet type things, who I haven't heard. I don't think I saw or heard anybody say anything other than he was a mensch. He was delightful. He was warm. He knew your name. He wasn't, like some people can be. He wasn't hard to work with. He was just a genuinely down to earth, nice, friendly, warm person who wasn't, didn't give you that vibe about, oh God, another convention. I can't. How soon can I get to my hotel?
Adam West.
Yeah, there you go.
Not to say, speak ill of the.
Yeah, exactly. Black Panther, the movie, obviously, for me, that was the first thing that I really knew him from. Was just mind-boggling. The costumes were so above and beyond anything that Marvel had done previously, just in terms of the beautiful costume design. The acting was incredible. I personally loved the fact that, if you've ever been here, Thanos type characters, Darkseid, characters like that, I never cared for them in comics, in adaptation movies. Anybody that can go and wipe out half the universe, there's no story there. It's too much.
Yep.
This was a human story. This could have been a Greek tragedy. There was pathos in the story with Killmonger, that's something that hadn't really been told in a Marvel movie prior to that. If you took the special effects, the Wakanda, the vibranium, if you took all of that out, and it was just the story about these two half brothers, it still would have been a damn good movie, which is saying a lot.
Cousins. I think they were cousins.
Cousins. Yeah.
Cousins. I'm sorry. Yeah, cousins. My apologies.
Let me just jump into a couple of things
please.
here. So, waifu Pennywise, why are people so mean to people who are different? Pennywise, people have literally built psychology careers on that question. It's nothing that we can answer easily or quickly here. It's part of the human condition for some people, unfortunately. Rodimus Primal, we're also sad that he's gone, but imagine how much pain this must be on his family, and if he has a wife, imagine how much pain they must all be going through. He does have a family, Now, speaking as someone who went through this with a parent when I was a young child, my dad was diagnosed and lived for 5 years, struggling with it. It's horrible. It's an incredible amount of pain. It's something that is coming. That doesn't lessen the pain, it lessens the shock. And so, they are in pain, but they're not in shock. And hopefully, as Greg was pointing out, the responses from all the people who really did love him are helping them not get through the pain, but at least deal with pain.
Yep. And hopefully drown out the haters. Let's just lump that all together and not dive down that rabbit hole. But the haters who have crap to say, yeah.
Yep. What was I thinking about? I will. Oh, so you were talking about the idea of MCU villains not rising to the level of Killmonger. Oddly enough, one of the very few is Helmut Zemo in Civil War, who was doing what he did because the Avengers caused the death of his family.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends with T'Challa deciding not to let him take his own life. And that defined what was going to be the tone of Black Panther.
The humanity.
The humanity. Now, waifu Pennywise, but who's going to play as Black Panther? So obviously this question has come up. It's a question that obviously needs to be addressed in whatever fashion it's going to be addressed, whether having somebody play Black Panther or how they deal with it. I don't want to get into that right now. I think it's too early.
Agreed. We can. There's going to be speculation about that right now. Let's let him rest in peace.
Yep. I guarantee that the folks at Marvel Disney have been talking about this probably for more than a year. I can't imagine, even though he hid it from the public, I can't imagine that he hid this from, Marvel Disney with billions of dollars riding on his health. So they have something in mind, or at least they have ideas. I guarantee it.
I think so. Yeah. Rodney. So I don't. We've known each other for 7 years now, I guess. I did not know that about your dad.
It's nothing I've ever hidden. It's just
sure, of course, it's just not something that it doesn't come up like, hey, did you see such and such movie last week? I'm thinking, like, as I'm reading this, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy was going through colon cancer, which by all accounts is one of the nastier ones. Not that any are good, but I think, oh geez, I stubbed my toe. I'm going to need to take a week off from work. Watching your dad as he was suffering from that, could you imagine being on a film set, let alone a Marvel film set, with with the stunts, the action sequences, the relentless reshoots, and what do you call it, on location stuff? What kind of fortitude does that take in an actor to work through that?
And I will. So one of the things that was the toughest on my dad was the fact that he wasn't allowed to do what he loved. He was a truck driver and a race car driver.
Ooh.
And back then, realistically, the only solution was a colostomy. And that meant you had to have a colostomy bag. And that meant you obviously weren't going to be riding around at 190 miles an hour in a stock car. And that was really tough for him. He was 6 feet tall. I got my shoulders from him. The trucking company he worked for when he got his diagnosis had a pet black bear, and he used to wrestle it. So
that's the most Maine thing I've ever heard.
This is really
he loved the bear. The bear loved him. He used to feed it orange soda. The bear was just ludicrously addicted to orange soda. But then they would wrestle. So Boseman being able to do what he loved for as long as he possibly could is a wonderful thing. And Rodimus Primal, I hate myself so much because I've not cried at all here about this news. People handle different things differently. I cried because it hits me personally. You know, it brought back all of these feelings about my dad. Um, you know, if you don't have anybody that's been touched by this particular kind of cancer in this way, you know, you can be sad and
Good
not,
for you.
yeah, you know, and not cry. Don't worry about that. You know, people react differently.
I cry. I am a very like emotional person, so it does not take much to get the waterworks going. So again, don't judge yourself on my ability to tear up at happy things, sad things, angry things. I don't know. It just happens.
Yeah, yeah, and Rodimus Primal, I don't know how old you are, but trust me, when you hit about 55, you'll start crying. That's one things about getting older.
Yeah.
Things feel different.
Well,
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
just an incredible actor and
Yep.
a wonderful human being that's gone too soon, and you know, the sadness to me is apart from his family, his friends, etc., losing somebody like that is he had so much talent that, I mean, think about the incredible career he could have had, should have had. Um, you know, you alluded to Get On Up. I mean, he was spellbinding as James Brown, but nobody really much, you know, was well regarded but not widely seen. Um, Obviously, Black Panther just broke every record and put him into the you know, into the stratosphere of actors. He could have taken his pick at that point.
One of the things I just thought of something. It's been widely circulated, and importantly so, of how the Wakandan accent came to be, and which is very important. And where it is a place completely without that has never been colonized. And of course, they use the term colonizers in the movie. Another thing that I'm not sure I've seen talked about as much, but is also important, is how Boseman decided he wanted this king, this again very masculine figure. He's Black Panther, he's a superhero, he's a king. He literally had to fight someone for this, but he's surrounded by equally, intelligent, if not more so, women. The whole oh gosh, I can't remember what the fighters are called.
The Dora Milaje.
Thank you. And he had said that, he's just this chill kind of guy. And I remember seeing this like supercut of other Marvel like heroes and how used to we are of that sort of plucky Americanness of like reacting. And he's like, cool. Or he'd make a noise like, no, I mean, as T'Challa,
Right.
he'd be like, when Shuri's like, what are those shoes? He's like, and it was I remember this thing reading, about how he said he really never wanted to try to seem like he was usurping his position with the women that helped him be who he was, and that was a choice to show that masculinity does not have to be loud or brash.
So I think that's a wonderful thing. The Dora Milaje is canon in the comics, and yes, he fought to make sure that they were as important a part of the story as they are, including, and I don't know who wrote the line, but I was watching one of the extended interviews afterwards or so on in the version that I own of the movie. And somebody said about Okoye being one of, the second strongest fighter in all of Wakanda, and I immediately, yelled at the screen, "No, she's the strongest." T'Challa says that.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the only reason he is stronger is because he has the Black Panther powers. She is the strongest fighter in that entire country, and he knows it, and he tells her that at one point. So I want to bring up one more thing. Just this image that popped up here. I put it up a little bit earlier This is the first time I actually saw him, and I didn't know that this was Chadwick Boseman until last year. I rewatched the series Justified, and in season 5, I think, I'm watching this this one of the rare villains that is not white in this series, set in Kentucky, so all the drug dealers are white because it's in Kentucky. Was this character Flex Beeman? I think was his name. And I'm looking at it, it's like, oh my god, that's Chadwick Boseman. When did this happen? I had no idea. So when I was writing our article earlier that went up on our the nerdcaliber.com website, I looked at the IMDb listing. Between this one episode, he's one of the minor secondary characters, and Black Panther was 3 years. You talk about this guy's talent. He went from doing bit parts in this, in Fringe, and a couple of other TV series, to the very first movie he was in. He was a lead, but it was a like I said, a small Iraq War veteran comes back, blah 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 kind of movie, and then Jackie Robinson in 42, and James Brown in Get On Up, and T'Challa, the Black Panther. What an unbelievable talent! What an absolute shame for those of us who love to see this kind of talent happen in front of our eyes. It's obviously the least awful thing that happened at all related to this, but it's one of them. As Greg said, we're not going to see this talent continue to develop.
Yep.
And that's just, that's awful. I think we need to wrap it up. We're going long. And we could basically just sit here and go, oh my God, how amazing and how awful. We will have a discussion at some point, Waifu Pennywise, in a couple of weeks, I would say. I'm going to give it a little while, about some speculation about where they could go with the MCU and Wakanda and so on. But just not this show.
Yep.
Hey.
Skype just hiccuped.
Skype hiccuped, and now you two, good thing I didn't label you because you're now in different windows. I mean, we're all still back, so that's cool, but that was weird. So, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for the comments and the questions. And yes, Rodimus Primal, if you believe that sort of thing, he is in a good place. I'd like to think he's with his ancestors. But whatever it is that Chadwick Boseman believed, the person, I hope he's where he believed he wanted to be when everything was all said and done and the horns were played. So, once again, thank you very much. I'm trying to think of a way to segue into this without just it sounding like an awfully hard segue, but there's no way to do it. So, Gogo, please tell us once again, what do you have cooking up that is going to uplift our spirits?
All right. This week, this Thursday, would have been the start of Dragon Con. It is the start of Dragon Con virtual, and the party that always kicks off Dragon Con is the Bunny Hutch. I've had the pleasure to work for the Bunny Hutch now for multiple years. And this year, I have put together Go-Go's Bunny Hutch Go-Go Dance Party Hour, something like that. It's a lot of words. It's going to be fun, and it's free. So if you go to my Instagram and keep an eye there, it'll be in a picture thing, whatever it's a post, and in my stories. And also, if you're over 21, you can come hang out with me and Greg and all these Bunny Hutch people as we do party games and drinking games, and we're all going to be wearing our bunny ears, and that's going to be a lot of fun. For that, you have to be in the Bunny Hutch group on Facebook.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
Greg.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. That last segment was definitely a little kind of a sad note to end on. So glad we've got some fun stuff for Dragon Con. Waifu Pennywise mentions Dragon Con. It's a huge party convention in Atlanta in the U.S. If you're not familiar with it, it's an event that all three of us have been to many times. It's a tremendously fun costume event, party event, made friends, always see friends, etc. And because of COVID, it's not happening this year. So I'm glad we are doing some virtual events. The Bunny Hutch Party. I think Gogo, one of the first times you and I hung out together after we met was the game of bunnies years ago when you guys did that incredible group.
Yeah. And I remember your Rocky Horror.
Yes,
You were
we
Dr.
did.
Frankfurter.
I was
and you were
Frankenfurter.
so tall in those heels.
No
So
beard.
good.
Had no beard for that.
Beard was shaved for that. So let me just add to Greg's. So Pennywise, if you go to Dragon Con and you want to do nothing but play Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments from 9 o'clock in the morning until they close them down at like 9 at night for 4 straight days, you can do it. If you want to go there and just sit in science fiction book panels for 4 straight days, you can do it. Or you can hang out and look at all the cosplay for 4 straight days for 24 hours for 4 straight days because they don't stop.
Every night there's cosplay related dances.
Yeah, it's insane. It's one of the most varied. It is one of the most adult and one of the most family friendly at the same time conventions. People bring their kids all the time. There are tracks that I don't even know about. That it's like somebody's going to say, "Oh yeah, no, I go there just for the LARPing or something," and I'm like,
I've been involved with the alternate history track for a couple of years and have done drunk history a couple of times. I've done a panel called History's Greatest Villains, which is basically just people talking about Genghis Khan or the John Wayne Gacy. Which
so we're going on. Dragon Con is awesome. Rodimus Primal, what's your Instagram? Rodimus Primal, are you asking Nerd Caliber? Are you asking?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say what mine was again. That's me.
Yes, I think that's you. So
okay, that is my I'm Gogo Incognito, and my Instagram is Gogo_Incognito. Also, if you just Google me, it's gonna come right up. Now, the Go-Go show that's free to watch, that is for all ages. It's really fun. Anybody can watch it. You can share the link. The hangout party is for 21 and over.
Cool. All right, folks. Thank you very much for all the questions, for staying with us, and Ye Bombay. So we'll see you next.
To that.